Hi, in this video we're going to do an introduction to Google Sites. We're going to take a look at classic sites and new sites and how to move between the two and look at the basic overall environment. You can see in the upper right hand corner that I'm already logged in, which is going to be important to get to your site. So log into the account where you intend to create the site or where the site has already been created, and then you can get there in a variety of ways. You can click on this waffle and find it in that list of options in here, or you can simply go to your address bar and type in sites.google.com, and that'll take you right there. Now, as you can see, it took me right to new Google Sites, and you'll be able to determine this by the look pretty quickly once you see the two different options. If you wanted to go back to classic sites, you can click on the hamburger in the upper left, and you'll see there's an option for classic sites. Now, this is really just for people who have previously worked and created sites here, because this will be phased out. Okay, you're no longer really going to have access to this, and the new sites is the modern version. It's the way to go. But if you do have old sites, you can come here. You can look through those. Let me open one. Just click on it, and you can see here's the site. Notice up at the top there's an option to convert this into a new Google site, and you just click try it now. It'll run for a few minutes, and then it will create a version of this in new Google Sites. Now, this version may not be perfect. There are a lot of differences between classic sites and new sites, but especially if you've been using something and you have a lot of content over on that old site, it's definitely worth a try. It may get you 80–90% or more to a good conversion depending on what you included in your old site, and it's definitely worth the effort instead of abandoning the old site and starting from scratch. Note that if you've looked for this before on a site and didn't find it, it took a while to roll out. I mean, I had some sites that I checked for this option, it wasn't there, and then more recently it was. So give that a try. Now, if I return by mousing over and clicking that little back arrow there, if you do land on this page, to get to new Google Sites, you're just looking for the option down here in the left column, New Google Sites, and that'll bring you over there. New Google Sites has a very different look and feel, and is really fundamentally very different than the old sites in a lot of ways, and we'll get into that in future videos. For now, let's take a look at some of the options. First of all, I'm seeing all the sites that I have access to as an owner or as a collaborator, as somebody who's been given permission to work on someone else's site. So if I want to change that view, I can do that here. Instead of owned by anyone, I can say owned by me, and you can see that a few of those sites don't appear here because I didn't create them. Someone just gave me access to them. And then there's also not owned by me. And now I can see the ones that I didn't create. I'll be able to see in a minute. I'll be able to see the ones I didn't create, but that someone's given me access to. So those are your three options there. Additionally, I see these as icons right now, big square blocks where I get a preview of what's on my homepage of each site, which is nice. You can see them as a list also. So by clicking on this option here, you'll get them as a list. It's sorted into when they were created, although I can change that. And yeah, basically two ways to look at it. If I go to this A to Z, you can see right now they're sorting them by when they were last opened by me. Okay, this is last modified by me, and this is last modified. So if someone has shared a site with me, or I've shared a site with someone else as a collaborator, clicking this third one just puts them in order of when the last time they were changed, regardless of who made the change. Okay, if I go to title, you can see that those time designations disappear, and I just get a long list of them in alphabetical order. Okay, this is one application where I often prefer lists personally, because I have a lot of stuff and I take time in how I name them so they organize themselves in a way that makes sense to me. But this is one application I tend to like them in the icon view because I get this nice preview, and because the number of sites that I have here is not too extensive. I can kind of take that in. Maybe if I had 30 or 40 sites, it would be different. Maybe I'd be looking to organize them in a different way, but that's a personal preference. Okay, in order to create a site, you can look in the lower right-hand corner. There's a plus sign. This is a convention in a lot of the new Google stuff that when you want to do something, you look for the plus sign and you look in the lower right-hand corner to add content. So if I click that, it simply opens up a page that is the first page of my site. And if I want to give this a name, I just click in the upper left. I'll call this test site. And it just takes a second. And then it's saved, and I close it. Whoop. Let me get back to my new Google Sites here. Got a couple of windows open. And now you can see the test site is over here. Okay, so I've created a new site. It was that easy. I just had to give it a name. This little stoplight thing down on the lower right-hand corner of each one gives you a few options on this page. One is to rename it, and all that's going to do is bring up a box with the existing name. And I can just modify that name, say OK, and now you can see that the site has been renamed. So it's that simple. Two other options you have there. One is to open in a new tab. So if I click that, notice it now opens up here in a separate tab. So I still have this window, but this is in the process of opening up in a new tab. And that differs then from the default behavior. If I just click on the whole icon, the whole box itself, you can see that that will open up in the same tab. It will replace the previous window. I can click the icon in the upper left to get back here. Okay, so either way, that's a minor difference, but it could be useful if you're working on multiple sites. And the last option under there is to remove it. So if I click on that, you can see there's a trash can. It goes away altogether. Okay, the only other thing to note up here is that you have your typical Google environment where you can use your search bar if you had a lot of things in here. Generally not necessary. I haven't found too many people to have 30, 40, 50 sites, but it's possible. And then you have your standard tools over on the right. So the waffle for moving to a new application, the notifications icon, and the login icon here in case you wanted to sign out or switch to a new account, etc. Okay, in future videos we're going to look at all the mechanics of actually creating and organizing your site.